Welcome back. We have the principal of Kamloops Christian School joining us, Sandro Cazzetto. Welcome back to the show,
Thank
Sandro.
you. Thank you very much.
How are things going at school today?
Things are going very well,
Everything's under control even though you're here?
As far as I know, I've got a good team back there, so everything's good.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, for sure.
But today we are talking about the fact that you guys are launching a very special campaign at the school.
Yes, we've been talking about it, and by the way, thank you very much again for having us here. I've been here a couple of times, and we've talked a little bit about middle school and things like that last week, and they brought a couple of cars and woodworking kind of things they were working on. A lot of the things we've been talking about, they're kind of culminating to this big campaign thing that we're doing. And I just have to say that I'm very happy to have such forward-thinking teachers at the school. We've got an incredible staff there, and they're really looking ahead to education and how to really change education. You know, education's been. It's not something that's been wrong. I mean, going back to the 50s, 40s, it's exactly the way it should have been for a good factory model type of ed. But it's 2018. You know, kids are different. And our mission statement at the school talks about having our students reach their academic potential. Well, to do that really well, we can't do it the same way we were doing it before. I was just talking, you know, our kids, this is the net gen. They grew up without, or they've never known a space without internet. This is basically, yeah, it's a whole new thing. And they use technology differently than we kind of use it. So for us, it's important that we have an education system that allows for them to be able to do what they're going to do in a way that makes sense to them. So we have a campaign. We want to do 3 things in that campaign. One of them is something that we call flexible learning spaces. And it's a very key part to it. There's a couple of countries that do it really well. One of them is New Zealand. They, if I'm not mistaken, their government actually, I think, gives money to schools to change their classrooms and their buildings into flexible learning areas. And it's fantastic. They look at heat, lighting, sound, and the areas are much more open to different styles of seating, different manipulatives, different things that students will be able to get into a classroom, be given a task, and then go into these areas and show that knowledge. So it's not, you know, our classic example would be giving a student, oh, I don't know, let's say a ratio question, you know, a math question. So they're given that in the classroom. Our standard classrooms, okay, here you go, here's your worksheet, and good luck, right, and that type of thing. And maybe they'll go really far and say, well, you could do the answer on a whiteboard. Well, ratios can be shown so many different ways. So you could have a child just use the furniture even in a classroom to show ratios, or give them, you know, take a foods room. Here's a recipe for 2 people. We want you to make it into 3, right? So all of a sudden you're kind of getting the knowledge that you need for the child, but they are showing it to you in a different way. And for sure they'll understand it if they can show it to you correctly. So flexible learning spaces allows for things that in the classroom or in those areas that the students can use to not just get information differently, but really show it in a different fashion. So that's the first thing. The second thing is technology. And tech is a big thing. I mean, you just had a session about it, and actually Tracy Moffat and I were talking about it. We picked up a smart board for our school, and I think they're just putting it all together right now. As a matter of fact, I'm missing that at the school. But I've seen the demos. They're fantastic. They're all big touch screens now, and the teacher can use them just with a finger and kind of go through a whole bunch of lessons. But then a student with their Chromebook could put in an answer, and their name will pop up on the smart board, and the teacher can interact. Yes, that's right, Johnny. Here's the answer, and here's how this will work. And it's very cool. But tech it's not about the tech. You know, in that example, it's about the interaction with the students. So doing technology well really will help with our flex learning spaces. And then the third thing that we want to build is something called a makerspace, which in Kamloops as well we have. For us, we are going to do the woodworking and the 3D and computer-aided drafting and the printers like you've seen. But we want to add metalwork, we want to add robotics and electronics to it, and then build this area where students can really show their learning in a very hands-on way. And all of that is exciting. It's kind of what we're doing at the school, and yeah, we're very, very pumped about doing them all.
That's awesome. Is there sort of a timeline as to how you see this unfolding?
Yeah, well, this week is key. I have a ton of meetings this week, some of them with an architect as well, or a draftsman who's going to be putting together what the thing's going to look like. And so an invitation to all of Kamloops. Once we get this kind of figured out, I'd like to open it to everybody to come and see. At the same time, we want to open these areas to Kamloops in general. So I was born and raised here. This is my home. This is I'm not planning to go anywhere at this point. So the makerspace and even the flex learning spaces, we want to open that up to the City of Kamloops, even to school district, and say, hey, here's some areas, we're building them. We'd like to invite you in for the makerspace, because it's kind of family friendly. It's a little different than the makerspace downtown. So we're still working through how to do that. And the flex learning spaces and the tech, we would love to have professional development and things that happen in our school and open it up to the rest of the schools in the area to go, well, look, here's a specialist coming in. Here's how you incorporate Maker into your classroom, or here's how to bring flex learning spaces. So timeline is a little flexible at this point, but we're getting things started this week.
Awesome. Out of time, but open to input. That's what Sandro's saying. He would like to hear from you. He'd like you to come in and check things out. A great opportunity to get involved in the community and have a positive impact on the school. Information's on the screen. If you'd like to email Sandro directly, you can do that as well. Sandro C at camcs.org. So that's fairly straightforward. The phone number's on the screen. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
All right, quick break. We'll be right back.